It's not the purpose of this show to provide tax, legal, and/or financial advice, and you should always seek counsel from your CPA, attorney, or advisors, as these topics relate to your specific needs. This information is being presented in a very general way and is for illustrative purposes only.
At the mic in the studios with Joe Thomas. Joe, welcome back.
Thank you, Kathy, as always. Appreciate it.
We've been getting so much positive response from the Jupiter Joe Money Show. Couple of different reasons why. Number one, Joe Thomas has been in business for over 28 years right here in South Florida. He's licensed in the state of Florida. He's the author of the book, The Retirement Know-It-All. People have been loving this show. So many people talk about writing the book, but you actually took pen to paper. And we're going to let our listeners know a little bit later in the show how they could obtain their free copy. 20 years in South Florida, 5-time member of the $1 Million Round Table. The reason that's important is only 1% of the financial advisors achieve that, which means, in my mind, you really know what you're talking about. You started as a young buck.
I was a baby.
Yeah. That was many, many years ago. But we're here to talk to you not only about, well, today's topic, which of course is 401ks
and IRAs.
And for some reason, we get so many questions about IRAs and 401ks. Why is that, Joe?
Well, it's just anything that has a lot of rules and regulations, and anything that costs you a lot of money if you make a mistake is a real problem, and you got to understand something about it. And that's really the issue. And the problem is it's who you get the advice from. We've talked about this many times, and we're going to talk about it further in the show, but making sure you get somebody that's knowledgeable in the area of IRAs and 401ks. The biggest problem we find with 401ks, for example, right now, a lot of people are taking money and they're rolling their pensions over because they lost their job, or they're out of work, or they're moving from one job to another job. What do you do with your old 401k?
What do you do with your old?
Well, here's the case. You can move it to your new employer if they allow it. That's number one. Most employers don't want you to do it, so they don't allow you to move it.
Or they just don't mention it.
Or they just don't mention it. So my motto is this: if your money is at your old employer and you're not, then neither should your money be.
Let's go over that again. That was a good one.
So here's the deal. If you're not at your old job because you got fired or you left, your money shouldn't be there in your 401k. You should be able, and the reason being, number one, is you can control your own money. You want to control it. You want to make sure that you can do the things that you want to do with your money. If you have it in an old pension plan, a 401k, sitting there with your old employer, they have certain rules and restrictions that you don't have if you move it to a self-directed, your own 401k that you move to your own account, your own money. It's there. You can control it. You can do what you want. You can invest it your way. If you leave it where you were at your previous job, they're going to invest it. Some companies will only invest your money in their stock. So if you worked for, I'm giving an example, Exxon, and you have a 401k, your money may be in Exxon stock. Now, Exxon's a great company. I'm just using it as an example.
Yes.
But the point is, if you're not at your old job, your money shouldn't be there either.
That's a really, really good point. And we have mentioned on previous radio shows that long gone are the days where you graduate college and you start working at a job and you work there until you retire. Yeah, and there are no more pension plans. Just so you know, years ago you used to get a gold watch, and you worked there 30 years, you got a gold watch. Some actual security for your future is the pension plan.
But then you'd have a pension plan. Well, pension plans are pretty much gone. So they invented the 401k. That reinvented the pension plan. So you put your own money in, and then the company matches it with some money, and then basically it's your own money down the road. But here's the biggest problem we're going to talk about today. We always talk about mistakes that people make. The number one mistake that people are making right now with a rollover of your 401k, if you're about to retire or you're about to lose your job and you're going to roll over your 401k, don't do it yourself. Let me tell you why. The biggest problem, again, taxes.
Okay.
You're going to be taxed 20%, called a withholding amount.
Yikes.
20% is going to be withheld from your money. So let's say you retired at a company and you had $200,000 in there. They're going to withhold $40,000 of your money if you don't do it properly.
Wow. So people like to think they're saving money doing it themselves, but that obviously...
Yeah. And we don't get any fees for moving your money if you decide to go with us. But I'm just letting you know there's a 20% withholding, and it's called the big mistake. So you don't want to make that mistake.
Don't make the big mistake.
Right. So that's number one. If you have a 401k and you're about to retire or you're about to lose your job and you know you've got to move the money somewhere else, don't do it yourself. You want to do what they call an asset-to-asset transfer, where one company is going to accept the funds, and that means it's a qualified plan, meaning IRA, 401k, pension. It has to be rolled over properly. And if you don't do it, your company is going to withhold 20% for the IRS. Mandatory.
Wow.
So make sure you do it properly.
There's tons of rules and regulations, and it costs less in the long run. You get to keep more of your hard-earned money if you do it with a professional.
Right. And listen, I've had a couple clients that have done this themselves, and they come to me later on and say, hey, how do I get this 20% back? Well, you have to prove to the IRS that you rolled this money over to a qualified plan, another plan.
Just another hoop to jump through.
Now when you, I don't know how many of these pension plans you've actually seen a rollover on. Most people haven't seen them. But the pension plan forms are anywhere from, on the small side, 10 pages to as much as 30 pages of minutia you've got to get through fill out a transfer to roll over your money.
That's enough to stop anyone dead in their tracks, right? Because it's easy to put things like that on the back burner.
Very easy. Very easy. Now, IRAs, here's the other thing we talk about. An IRA let me just say this too. All of the stuff we're talking about, IRAs, 401ks, pensions, SEP, Simplified Employee Pension Plan, whatever it is, it's all called qualified money. What does qualified mean? You'll hear an investor.
What is qualified money?
Simply means that it's money that the IRS regulates. And that means it comes with rules, baby. You can't do this, you can't do that, and if you don't do that, you're going to be taxed on it. Okay?
So there are probably lots of mistakes people make on that.
100%.
Who can keep up with the mind-boggling amount of rules the IRS sets forth?
That's what we do. And a lot of times we have specialists that we call, tax experts that we call, and we have phone numbers for people, and we'll say, what happens if this person does this? And then we'll explain to them how we can reduce or eliminate the tax. Okay?
Okay, and that leads me to, Joe, you're such a great listener, and money is personal. People work hard for it. They work their whole lives. And you're such a good listener, and when people phone you, you're listening to their unique situation, because no two situations are ever exactly alike.
No, everybody's different, and I realized a long time ago is that I've got to look at everybody individually, and that's what happens. And I hate talking about other advisors, but it's so true. And I'm talking about generally, not specifics. You might have the greatest advisor in the world, and that's wonderful, and continue going with them. But let's say that you're looking for advice that person doesn't have. Go to somebody that does have that advice. And that's what I learned a long time ago. You want to make sure that you provide information and education on the topic that the client wants. And that's what I do.
You do. And over 28 years here in South Florida, and we have a certain demographic that we're dealing with. And some people say, oh, it's too complicated for me. I don't want to deal with it. Or,
I'm too old.
I'm too old. I don't know where to start.
Or the biggest one I hear all the time, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it just drives me crazy, is my son or my daughter will take care of it. Now, that's great. What does your son or daughter do? Well, they're an attorney, or they're a doctor, or whatever it may be, or they're just an average person. And I'll say, well, where do they live? Oh, well, I live in Michigan, where I used to be. How are they going to take care of your estate? How are they going to settle your estate? How are they going to take care of all the final arrangements? They don't. They'll come down, they'll take care of it, and they got to take a week off to do this. Mm-hmm. So
it's important to get your affairs in order.
Correct, whatever it may be. So we're getting off topic a little bit. I want to get back onto the IRA and the 401ks. It's an area that is so confusing, and it doesn't have to be. You just have to know the rules and the regulations. Now, that's the bad stuff. The bad stuff is the taxes. And I always tell people, they say, well, I want to convert from an IRA to a Roth IRA. You're going to be taxed on it. That's the bad news, okay? The good news is if you convert, there's never any tax again if you do it right.
You'll keep more of your money in the long run.
And you leave money to your family tax-free.
So you have to bite the bullet, because the IRS is going to take a bite out of you one way or the other.
Correct.
But the Roth IRA is such a wonderful vehicle for people to utilize. I know live, I'm thinking of our last seminar that we did right down the street here, and that was the biggest gripe.
Yeah.
But you work hard for your money. Don't you want to keep more of it?
Exactly. And that's what, I always talk about the guy out in the golf course. I'm an avid golfer, and the guy gives me a little poke in the ribs. This actually happened. I'm not making this up. And this guy pokes me in the belly, and he says to me, hey, Joe, I earned 12% last year. And I said, really? That's great. What did you keep? Well, he looked at me like I had three heads. What? It's not always about your return. It's about what you keep, the net. Okay, you've got taxes, inflation, and fees, okay? And people don't look at that. So your real interest is what's important to you. How much are you really keeping? And if you're just going to leave money to your family, okay, we're going to talk about IRAs. Here's the biggest problem with IRAs. So let's give you an example. You've got an IRA that you accumulated $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, and you're going to ultimately, let's say you're a single woman, your husband's deceased, and now you've got $300,000, $400,000 in an IRA, and you're going to leave it to your son or daughter up in Michigan. Okay, that money is 100% taxable to that person, your son or your daughter, whoever you're leaving it to, 100% taxable at their tax bracket. Now, generally speaking, most kids are in a higher tax bracket than their parents, okay? They're going to be taxed at 25 or 30%, whatever the tax rate is when you pass away, and you just gave the IRS $60,000 or $80,000 of your heart needlessly. Now, if you have an IRA and you're only going to leave it to your kids, you don't need the income. A lot of people down here in South Florida are very fortunate. They don't need the income from that IRA. You can take that IRA and convert it to a Roth. We talked about this. You're not taxed on it until you convert it, but when you leave it to your family, it's 100% tax-free. Or better yet, take that money and buy life insurance with it. Use your RMDs to a higher level. So every year you must take a mandatory withdrawal. Let's say it's $5,000 or $10,000 a year. Buy $5,000 a year of annual premium life insurance and leave your kids tax-free dollars. This is about converting taxable dollars into tax-free dollars. We're not talking about returns. We're talking about what's smart, what the proper thing to do with your money in the most tax-efficient way.
How to keep more of your money and take control of your financial future. That's why you're listening to the Jupiter Joe Money Show. Kathy Green behind the mic with Joe Thomas in the studios. If any of this is of interest to you, I'm going to let you know how to get a free copy of Joe Thomas's book, The Retirement Know-It-All. All you have to do is phone 561-743-0999. You can go online, Joe.
Yeah, jupiterjoe.com.
You have an office right off PGA Boulevard.
I'm in the Wells Fargo building, right on 4440 PGA Boulevard, Suite 600.
In this day and age, a lot of people just want to make that phone call. A free 15-minute financial consultation.
We'll give you a free consultation. Just come, you can give us a call or come in, whatever you feel best about. A lot of people start, here's what usually happens. Let's just talk about that. Somebody will call me, they'll have an issue, or they just want to get the free book or the free information, the 10 biggest mistakes you should never make with your money. We send that out as a package, and then they'll call me back and say, hey, Joe, I have a question about this. I have this specific issue. What can I do with it? We start with a phone call. It's best to sit down, but if you don't want to sit down, in this day and age of coronavirus, you're better off just giving me a call and we could do it over the phone.
Well, that sounds good. Today we're discussing IRAs, 401ks. I can't tell you, Joe, over the 10 years that we've been on the radio, how many questions you have received, because it's sort of a conundrum because it's very complicated. Yeah. And if you make a mistake, it's going to hit you hard in your wallet.
Yeah, and it's funny, I always go back to my book because I kind of jammed everything into 128 pages of information of stuff I've learned over my career. And I put a quote in here. It's my own quote, but it's because I hear this so much. Why do the rich get richer? And nobody, you hear people say, the rich get richer because they're rich. Well, that's not why they get richer. They get richer because they know things that other people don't know. And they get advisors that know things that other advisors don't know. People. So you want to know things that other people don't know. And that's why it's not about sticking your money in an account that earns 5 or 8 or 10%. That's only one aspect of investing. The most important thing is what you do with your money and how you can leave it tax-free.
And you bet your bottom dollar that people that obtain huge amounts of wealth have more than one advisor.
Absolutely. And I had this happen the other day. We got a phone call from a client. They said, well, we have an advisor, but you know what? We want to check on him. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Good.
And we want a different philosophy than his. His is to put everything in the market, put it on red or black, and let's see what happens.
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice, baby. Well, that's a lot of the advisors out there. I always tell people, if you're 70 years of age and you're going to a 30-year-old advisor, you're going to get the advice of a 30-year-old. With investing your money, okay? They want to buy Google, Facebook, and whatever else is the hottest thing. And there's nothing wrong with those stocks.
No.
But do you always want that in your portfolio when you're 79 years of age?
And keeping your money safe and deferring taxes and paying less taxes is sort of what you specialize in.
Well, let me ask you a question. Here's what I always pose to people. I say to them, look, are you more concerned with earning 7% a year or saving 30% when you die? 30%.
30%.
Or in a lot of cases, we can save you 100% taxes. Now, well, how is that possible? Well, let's say you have an IRA for $100,000. If you leave it to your family, whoever you're leaving it to, they're going to lose 30% of taxes, so they get 70. Well, why not take that $100,000 and double it and leave your kid $200,000 tax-free? Well, how is that possible? That's illegal. No, it's not. It's called life insurance. The wealthiest people, the smartest, richest people in the world buy tons and tons of life insurance.
They certainly
Why?
do.
Because you can transfer assets tax-free. you don't pay tax on the gains. So, and if you want to borrow money from the contract, you can take it out tax-free. But that's only one aspect of what we do. That's only one instance of what I do.
So many people have worked so many different jobs and their money is scattered all about. If this is you, if this sounds familiar, you want to reach out and contact Joe Thomas. Like I said, Joe is a trusted retirement advisor. You're going to feel confident about the decisions that he helps you make because he's a good listener. Joe, I think this is really one of your best assets is that you actually listen to people, and you've had many clients that are your clients and have been and come to our seminars, but they always are there and talking with other people. And of course, no matter what your age, if your money's a little scattered, you want to consolidate to make those right decisions so you are not taxed on it,
right,
and you're keeping more of your money. Take control.
Yeah, I hear all the time people say to me, I'm too old to worry about this.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what age you are. If you're alive.
That's a cop-out. I'm too old.
If you're standing up and you can breathe and you can talk and you have $100,000 in the bank or $10,000 in the bank, you can control your money and worry about it, okay? I've learned a long time ago that, leaving a little more money tax-free is better than leaving less taxable. It's that simple, okay?
So I know through the years and being on the radio, there's a lot of war stories that we have heard.
Right.
And we have heard some crazy things when people do the call and stuff. But a lot of times, especially in this climate, people put too much of their money at risk.
Yeah, and
there are ways to avoid that and still keep your money safe.
Right. I talk about true diversification in my book.
Yeah.
By the way, I've been doing this 30 years. I've never heard of the word true diversification because it doesn't exist. I made it up, but it's true. And what true diversification means is that you put some of your assets in an investment or a vehicle that doesn't lose money. Mm-hmm. And that's true diversification. That means that you have an investment. Some investments have risk and you can lose money, and some don't. Okay? And that's the difference between me and an average advisor. You go to an average advisor, I guarantee they come into my office and they show me their stock portfolio or their brokerage account. 99.9% of their money is at risk in the market. And now what do I mean by that? Well, they have stocks, they have bonds, they have REITs, they have securities, they have stocks, whatever it may be. Okay? It could be the greatest company in the world. If it's a securities product, it comes with a level of risk. Okay.
And you have a formula for your age and how much risk, like generally speaking.
If you're 50 years of age, 50% of your money should be safe and secure without risk, and 50% at risk. Now, risk is relative to what you feel comfortable with.
We know men and women feel a little different about risk.
This all the time. Women they'll rather have the safety valve, and they want 3% fixed for the rest of their life, and they're happy with that. They want to know their money's accessible and it's safe, and we do that if that's what clients want. And then we have the other clients, the husbands, the guys, and they want to put it on red or black, and they want to gamble with their money. And to each his own, right? Just understand, if you have the wherewithal, the money to lose. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being in the market and playing it, like a casino. But we don't do that. We're going to talk to you about percentage of safety. And again, the percentage of safety is up to you. It's what you want to do. Here's what I will tell you. Start with a call. Give me a call, 561-743-0999. Go to JupiterJoe.com. Check me out. Google Jupiter Joe Radio Show and see what comes up. There's a bunch of websites that we have. We've been doing this for a long time, so
we have and we want to
information
caution people to make sure that your financial advisor is licensed and registered in the state of Florida.
Yeah, we talk about that.
It's so sad. Every year you hear these stories, and people are devastated.
Yeah.
They're wiped out.
Well, how about the guy that was running? We did shows on this. The guy who was running the dental office out of a storage bin in South Florida, down in Fort Lauderdale, or the
guy the kid that said he was a doctor.
Yeah, he's 19 years of age.
He was a young kid. Who would think he was a doctor? But people believe what they want to believe.
But this is South Florida, honey, and you got to.
Carl Hyacin has good fodder writing about all the crazy things that go on in South Florida.
Yeah.
So important. You're listening to the Jupiter Joe Money Show. Kathy Green, Joe Thomas in the studios, looking to get you that valued second opinion. all wealthy people have more than one advisor. They're reaching out. They're always searching for information.
Yep.
And the reason that they can go ahead and accrue more wealth is because
Information and education.
and things change all the time. The IRS tax rule and regulation is so convoluted. You're not an IRS person. You are a financial advisor, and you listen to people because they have specific situations that they want to deal with. And if you want to keep more of your money and reduce your taxes, Joe Thomas is the man to call. People, so many times, like you said, they want to think about how much they're going to make. But in the end, it's all about how much you keep.
Right. You're right.
Planning ahead, thinking ahead for retirement. We were talking about Social Security, when to take it, how to make that money for a higher purpose. You could do the same now by consolidating your IRAs and 401ks or transferring that money to the Roth IRA.
Well, here's another thing. You know, everybody comes to me and they'll say, I've got this. The funny thing is a lot of my clients are wealthier clients, let's be honest. And we deal with clients that have 100,000. We deal with clients that I have a client that's worth $50 million, $80 million. But whether you have 100,000 or you have 80 million, it's the same purpose. You want to keep it and you don't want to lose it, right? So we'll talk to clients about how to use their RMDs or their IRAs to a higher level. Now, what does that mean? So what that means is, let's say you have an RMD, and there are wealthy people out there that have RMDs that are $80,000, $100,000 a year. But let's say you have a $25,000 a year RMD coming in. Every year you got to take this money. What do people do with it? Most of the time they stick it in the bank.
They put it in the bank.
They put it in a bank account and they earn nothing, right? So what I tell them to do is, I say, do you need it? No, give it away. One of my clients is giving it to a synagogue. So he's not taxed on the RMD. This is smart business. This is smart. He's not
taxed. So that reduces his taxes in the long run.
He's not taxed, exactly. Or give your money away to a charity, okay? Or turn your money into other money that can be tax-free. So what I have a lot of clients do, they get $25,000 a year, $20,000 a year, whatever the number is from their RMD, buy life insurance with that annually. So now instead of leaving your kid $1 million IRA that's 30% taxes on it.
Yeah.
Now you leave the kid $1.5 million or $2 million, 100% tax free. Let me read that: 100% tax free. That's what life insurance can do. Now, that's only one aspect of what we do. I'm just giving you examples of taking an IRA, taking your 401k, and not making mistakes with it and making it better than what it is. It's not about the returns, Kathy. There's a lot more to this business than just returns.
So I'd like to kind of go back for some people that might just be joining the Jupiter Joe Money Show. You had said if you have money in an IRA that you're going to leave to your son or your daughter or a family member, they can be taxed, up to 35%?
Whatever their tax rate is. Now, if they're a no tax rate, well, highly impossible. But if they come into $100,000 or $200,000, they're going to fall into a very high tax bracket. Now, we don't know what the new rates are going to be down the road, right? There's a new administration coming in. Rates are going to go up. They've already said they're going to go up. If you make over $400,000 a year, rates are going to be higher. So right now they're 37% or 35%. They're going to go to 39%. So let's say you inherit, your kid, your son, your daughter inherits $400,000. They're going to be taxed 39% of their money. That's 40%. So for every 100,000, you're going to lose 39,000.
And it hardly seems fair after you've already been taxed on that money and you saved it. It's going to take a hard hit again.
Yeah, but here's the heartache. You went to your broker every year and he talked about how great you're doing in the market, but he never talked about transferring assets to your kids. I mean, I can't tell you how smart it is to think about returns and reducing taxes when you die. We're in South Florida. Some people call it the waiting room for heaven, right? Or something like that. I can't remember.
Yes, God's waiting room.
God's waiting room, right? And look, we're all going to get there one day, right? Okay. But this is smart business. This is smart money. This is how to take your money and leverage it. And taxes are the biggest way to leverage your money. I learned that a long time ago by smart clients, much smarter than me. Let me tell you something. I go to clients, and let me tell you something. They have more knowledge than me in certain areas. And I'll say, where'd you learn this? Well, it's my money. I read about it. I learned about it. I go to seminars. Some people come to our seminars, and you know this, how many seminars we do. Clients will come to us and say, we're not here for the free meal, Joe. We're here to learn. And that's what money is about. It's a learning process.
And they focus in on how to do it. And there's a simple way, if you are interested starting today, to go ahead and take control of your financial future. Say you have an IRA or a 401k, you're going to want to consolidate those, get those together. You're going to want to give Joe Thomas, the president and CEO of Retirement Network Advisors, a phone call. And of course, that number, Joe?
561-743-0999.
All right. We have been talking over 10 years on the radio and letting our listeners know what they can do. They can get a free 15-minute consultation with you. They can get the book. I think one of your biggest assets, Joe, that is in the book is the 10 biggest money mistakes you should never make.
Right.
These are simple things.
It's not about earning interest. I'll repeat it over and over. It's about how to make the right decisions with your money. We always talk about how the rich get richer. They get richer because they don't make as many mistakes. And they have advisors that know things that other people don't know. And they don't have one advisor. They have several advisors. They might have an advisor that does their investing. They might have an advisor that does their taxes. They might have an advisor that does their long-term care. Whatever it is, they have different advisors giving them information and education, and then they decipher what they should do. And they make educated decisions that can help them. That's what it's about.
All right, so today's show talking about IRAs and 401ks, and they are taxed when you die, so it's so important to know and leave to your family, and you don't want to lose that money that you worked so hard to do. For some reason, people get a little confused about IRAs and 401ks, and we discussed at the beginning of the show one of the most asked questions, Joe, about IRAs and 401ks.
Well, the biggest thing is the tax angle. They don't know that it's taxed, or you just turned 70 and a half, or the new rule is 72. You just turned 72, and now you got to take your RMD, but you forgot to do it. Well, there's a tax. There's a tax of 50% of the RMD. So let's say your RMD was $10,000 that you forgot to take.
And you forgot to take it.
It's a $5,000 penalty.
Oh, ouch.
Now, the IRS will probably let you go once, but they're not going to let you go twice.
Who could even get in touch with the IRS right now, or who wants to ever?
That's the whole thing.
You want to stay on the right side of the law, but also you don't want to pay more taxes than you have to.
Here's the other thing. A lot of people will have more than one IRA, or an IRA here, a 401k there, and then they still have to take their required minimum distribution, whether they took it from one account or took it from another. It has to equal that amount, and if they don't, it's penalized.
So it's so important to consolidate too, like you said.
It can be. It can be. It depends on the situation and what the client wants ultimately. Some clients, I'll give you an example. I've got clients that come to me, and for example, one lady had Exxon stock. Her husband passed away on 9/11, true story, coming from New York, and basically came down here. The husband passed away on the way down, and he was a big executive with Exxon. And she had all this Exxon stock that he left her. And she came to me, she says, her brother actually referred me. He was a client of mine. And she came to me, she said, "Hey, Joe, I have all this Exxon stock. The other broker that I talked to said to sell it all." I said, "You're going to sell Exxon stock? Why would you do that?" It's about doing the right thing for the client, and that's what we do. When we talk about safety, we talk about insurance, we talk about annuities, whatever the topic is, it's a percentage. This isn't for all your money. This is for a percentage of your money to be safe, secure, and guaranteed. And those are the things we deal with besides the information and education that we're going to give you. I would say to anybody out there thinking about doing something, whether you're retiring, you're already retired, you're going to leave money to your family, you want to do it in the most tax advantage way, give me a call, give me an opportunity to earn your business. Let me show you what I know and how I can help you. The book, The Retirement Know-It-All, wasn't written because I'm a know-it-all. I clearly don't know it all, but I can help you learn the things that I've learned over the years that other clients have made mistakes with. Give me a call, 561-743-0999, or go to jupiterjoe.com.
Joe, this has been so interesting, this show today. If you found it interesting and want to reach out to Joe Thomas, please do so. I'm Kathy Green, and we're winding our show up today. You can tune in and listen to us more and go online to jupiterjoe.com. Go ahead and check us out. Joe Thomas, thank you for educating people and being here on the radio today.
Thank you, Kathy, as always. Appreciate your time.
This is a pleasure. Thank you. You all have a great day, and thanks for tuning in to the Jupiter Joe Money Show.